Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to join Radha with her movie Dosh. Let's take a look at the clip. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. For those that haven't seen your amazing film, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah. So it's about a young Indian hard of hearing mother who is in the midst of a free fall with her husband. And in this event that happens the night before her sister-in-law gets married, she discovers that she needs to seek help for her bipolar husband, her undiagnosed bipolar husband.
I honestly love your film so much, and I watched it several times on my laptop, and then when I saw it on the big screen, it was like mesmerizing.
Thank you.
Seriously. There's so much context in your film. Like, there's so many stories and going on, and so many important stories that we don't hear about, particularly through this lens as well. Where did the inspiration come for you in creating this particular project?
Yeah, so this story is actually inspired by several truths within my life. I think what's great about narrative cinema is that you're able to incorporate these truths and create a dramatic element on top of that. But the main aspect is an ex-partner of mine who I was so in love with, and I'm still, I still very much love. He had gone through late onset bipolarism, and within our South Asian culture, mental health is just not talked about. And I was very ill-equipped on how to navigate that, and he was as well. We were both ill-equipped, and so when we turned to our South Asian community, we really didn't have any resources to be able to help us. And there's a lot of shame that we often experience anytime that there's any physical disability or a mental disability since the day that we're born. And it's really based on our our Hindu religion that I was born into. When we believe in reincarnation, a lot of times when we come into this life, if there's anything wrong with us, we're told as if we must have done something wrong in a past life to have deserved this condition. And I myself, my truth is that I'm hard of hearing. I have been hard of hearing since I was 6 months old. So I've had that disability throughout my life. And then the third truth, without trying to give spoilers, I had drowned once when I was a kid, so there's a certain trauma around that. Anytime I'm in ocean water, I just get very scared. So when you combine all that, the real message and the takeaway is to be able to dismantle any kind of shame that's within our culture around mental and physical disability.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Honestly, seriously, I'm making me tear up, because I'm just to be able to put all those things you've experienced, that you've gone through, and then just, put that out there universally, not only to kind of therapeutically help yourself, but also universally change perspective and experience, and really support your community as well through your lens, but help others through those experiences too, was mesmerizing.
Thank you.
Turning that into a film, and the writing of it was so wonderful, and then of course acting too. Tell us a little bit about taking those contexts and then the writing process, and then how you decide to go about casting, etc.
Yeah, sure. So Renu, who serves as a lead, we are very fortunate that she had won a Best Actress award for our film.
So good.
Yeah, she really is, and she's someone that I had known probably 3 years by now. And so when I had first met her, she was just explaining her journey of how she wants to be an actor and really be able to tell these, South Asian stories, but with the subtlety and nuance. And that's very much the type of storyteller that I am. And so we've developed a relationship over time where she actually had been casted in these cycle films that I have my first year at AFI. And I've just developed such a close bond where she would teach me a lot about some of the actors' methods and things that help them to be better, on a film. And then I would share with her, my process as I'm learning how to be a director. And so she's now, she's gone on to like wanting to direct her own work, and she recently did that. And I think it's largely because of this collaboration and this understanding with each other that we're able to teach each other these things.
That's beautiful, yeah.
But she, the way I cast, so I already, oddly enough, I didn't assume that she was going to be the lead for our film. But she really helped us with some of the exercises that we had to do at AFI to prepare for this. And then it was my team, and I already knew in my heart that I always wanted her, but I didn't want to push that on my team, because the way AFI teaches us is that every single person is very involved with the casting decisions. But when my team said, hey, how about Renu? And I was like, absolutely, a wonderful idea. When in my heart, I knew I wanted her all along. So then that ended up becoming a team decision that we all supported. And then in terms of casting Nikhil, he's someone that I'd known for years and years and years, but he had taken a break from acting due to, personal experiences and trauma that he had experienced. And then he showed up on my radar, and I was like, man, I haven't seen you in such a long time. How have you been? And then he shared his life story with me, and the things that he had recently gone through. And I just, in my heart, I was like, you know what, this is the perfect guy for this person that I, in my own life, had loved so much. And there's a certain thing of like, when you go, in the case of my ex-partner, when you go through, your experience of a mental health challenge, like how can we tap into that authentically? And I just felt like Nikhil was perfect for that. So we, through auditioning and everything, we ended up casting him, even though in my heart I knew I wanted him as well. And then the mother, she's so multi-layered and has so much depth, and I didn't want to cast the cliche, mother-in-law who's like overbearing in any kind of way. In this specific circumstance, it was just more trying to tap into how it's not her fault either, in the sense of like the way she's raised, mental health or anything related to psychiatry, we've always been taught it's a scam, right? Yeah. And there's certain empathy that she needs, that she brings to the story towards her own son, when they see this free fall kind of happen. And I think she's also learning how to, to be able to navigate that. Yeah. And, one thing I did want to say is that the title Dosh, it means fault and flaw in Hindi. So it has a double entendre. And a lot of times when I was saying about, my hearing disability is considered a fault or a flaw. And then, of course, the mental health challenge that's explored in the story is considered a flaw. Yeah. But my reason for that title is because I want to dismantle that it's not our fault. It's the fault of our society for not supporting us to be, to really tap into our best potential. And it really takes a community for that kind of support. So.
I'm so glad you're a filmmaker. Oh my goodness, like you are leading the way, seriously. In the context of the actual film itself, it was mesmerizing to watch, because it was the production design, the cinematography, just everything that was orchestrated with the whole party and everything was like, it was a stunning film to watch as well.
Thank you.
Going into that vision, how you want it to kind of look, like how was that journey for you?
Yeah, so my principals, Sandra Rodriguez is my production designer, and then Isu Shin was my director of photography. The collaboration that the three of us had was truly, truly amazing. So in this film, the ceremony that they actually have is called like a pithi, or a turmeric cleansing ceremony that happens before the wedding. And there's some symbolism there. Whenever we do a pithi, at least in my Gujarati culture, it's like we put this turmeric on the face, and the whole idea is that you're cleansing of all your sins before you now enter this new chapter in your life. And so that was a ceremony that I wanted to portray in this. So it's very private, it's very intimate. It's not like a big wedding like typical Indian, and Pakistani weddings are. But I wanted this to be very intimate just amongst the family. And I would show to Sandra and Isu like my home videos of my weddings.
Oh, wow.
And so then it was like, in my specific pithi ceremony, they had a priest there that would recite all these shlokas, what they call Sanskrit-based mantras. And then we would have this cleansing where every single member of the family would then put turmeric on my face. And sometimes they would lather it, or they would just put it very softly, to be gentle. And then I do a full wipe down, and it's a beautiful ritual.
Beautiful, yeah.
And so, so Sandra had seen those videos, and then she, of course, did her research, and she's not very familiar with the Indian culture. So this was actually her first experience in it. And then she just did these renderings, these 3D renderings of how it would look. and it looks exactly like how those renderings are. So she
Wow.
like matched it to a T, because we would work together to approve, like, okay,
Yeah.
this works, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we were careful not to include too much kind of like Hindu deities, even though
Mm-hmm.
that's a religion that I was raised with, because I wanted to make this universal, like a
Yeah.
universal South Asian story, even though this specific family was Indian.
Yeah.
But the all cultural aspects are very universal in terms
Yeah.
of like across, India as well as Pakistan and all South Asian countries. So she nailed that for me. She nailed it.
Yeah.
In terms of costumes, we sourced a lot from my community. I've been developing a relationship with many members of, many actors throughout the community from my past work of just trying to uplift their voices.
Yeah.
So we were able to source costuming through them as well as from my own closet.
Oh, great.
And then
Yeah.
the food, that's always everyone's favorite
know.
thing,
Oh,
is
yeah,
to
of
have that
course.
display the samosas
Yeah.
were gone by the end of the day.
I was gonna
we had
say,
to make sure
like-
for continuity, we had to keep the samosas
Yeah.
there.
I wanted to jump into that screen, join the
Yes.
party, and eat the food. For
Oh
sure.
my goodness, yeah.
Oh, sorry, please.
Yeah, and I was just saying that my DP, like the challenge that we made, because a lot of Pithi ceremonies are actually during the day, we all decided that why not we challenge ourselves and do this at night, because it's very possible to do it at night as well, and mix this with a not only the Pithi ceremony, but then they call a Sangeet, which is like a little dance party afterwards. And the thing with night, because they tell you at AFI that they want to challenge you to be able to like do something that you haven't done before. And night shoots are very difficult, especially with night lighting. It takes a lot more energy on the grip and
does.
electric side, and just like to plan that all out. And given that this is a little bit of a dark story, we felt like this was very, fitting tonally.
Yeah.
So then that was my DP's work. Like she had planned, it was one of her first ever, night films in a way,
Wow.
like where most of the scenes were at night.
Yeah.
And I think she did an incredible job. And
Amazing.
just, there's an idea of like having these wide shots versus too close, like you want to understand the space first before you get into like these characters' like minds.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think she, like, our collaboration together, I mean, she was so instrumental in making that look, come alive.
You all nailed it, like
Yeah,
really,
thank you.
seriously. Again, I just want to commend you on taking some things, personal experience, but also just, you're really given sort of resolution as well as education, as well as, trying to shape how things have been seen in the community, outside the community, universally. How when you've gone through some personal experiences like this, you're able to resonate, especially as a director. And I'm just curious that as a director, how did you work with your actors to kind of like get those experiences out there in the way that you wanted, in the way that you knew? Yeah,
no, thank you for asking that. So my process, of course, I can't expect them to have like drowned before. I can't expect them to have gone through a very a challenging relationship like that, or I can't expect them to be hard of hearing, to have my specific disability and feel that feeling of less than throughout their lives like I did. So what I did is I actually talked to each of them individually at length to just say, like, share a little bit more about your experiences that have to do with any of these topics within the film. And in Renu's case, she has, there's a history of mental health challenges within her family, her uncle, and, so she tapped into like just experiences that she had as a caregiver, from a caregiver's perspective, on how to navigate that within our culture of stigma. And then in terms of the disability, she would tell me some of the, certain challenges that she would have physically on certain things. And she was able to tap into like how that would feel like when you're really trying hard to do something, in my case, trying to hear something really well, and you just feel like, God dang, like, why can't I hear this well? You know what I mean? Like, what's, and it comes down to like, why am I flawed, right? This is like this feeling that we feel. So we were able to tap into that, and then with Nikhil's case, we were able to also tap into recent, experiences that he had that made him feel less than. And it was, for me, it's like, and with the kid, Tyler, that was also,
so good.
Yeah. And I had to be very careful because I'm a mother myself.
Yeah.
And when you ask them something about a very challenging event in their lives, you kind of don't want them to remember it because it could really have a negative effect, at that young of an age. So he would tell me like just experiences of when he would stand up against bullies. And then we would flip it. It's like, what if you were being bullied, And then when he did share that, I kept a limit on how much he would share. But it was those types of emotions. I said, well, if I feel like I need to get a certain expression from your face, do I have your permission to be able to say on set that, do you remember that story you told me?
Yeah.
And then he goes, absolutely, because you know, I'm just very careful as a mother and a parent. I
Oh, of
also ask for their
course.
parents' permission for certain things too.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's a really important part as
Yeah.
when you're working with young people, for sure. I mean, I went straight back to my mum and my stepdad arguing as a 5-year-old into Tyler, like,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm there too, you know. So
Yeah.
of course we resonate.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say as well, like, you know, what's the reaction been like for you? Because I really think you're paving the way to, you know, unravel, you know, as you kind of explained as well, like, you know, what the perspective, what you're kind of born into in this, and, you know, and having things that make you different and everything else. What's the reaction been like for you? Because I really think, you know, you've made a powerful film to hopefully make, you know, thought changes, you know, in communities, but also just how we perceive things as well.
Yeah. So the reaction has been incredibly positive. I will say that. But you know how, as a filmmaker, that when you first release your film into the world, like through these film festivals, and those first many film festivals reject you,
Yeah.
then you're like, what have I done wrong?
Yeah.
You know, like, was this story like just too complex, or just, you know? But my writer, and I have to give her some credit, incredible credit. She was my co-writer and one of my best friends, Noura Aladi. She's from Saudi Arabia. And she shares some of the same culture as me, but she said, don't worry, it will find the right audience. And she would remind me that all the time, because I would share with her in the very beginning, like, oh, we just got rejected, we just got rejected, we just got rejected. But then once the acceptances came through and then the awards came through, I was like, oh my gosh, like, certain people do resonate with this, and that's what matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that we talk about, like, you know, who is your target audience? And my target audience was always my own community, just because I want to be able to normalize a conversation around mental health and disability.
Yeah.
And just say, like, look how these end up being our greatest strengths, right? And not a flaw, not a weakness of any sort. And I think that the greatest reward that I felt is in certain festivals that we did screen at, certain members of the audience would come to me privately and say that I think that my brother might be bipolar, or I think my aunt might have OCD, or something like that. And they're like, how do we navigate this? And I said, here's my number, here's my email. I'm not a professional, but I am here to be in your corner, and let's navigate this together. And through the process, we found that there's many organizations out there that have no kind of PR of any sort, right? Because they're busy trying to, like, help people. And through that, I'm able to share these resources that I'm learning through this journey, you know? And so I think that if we could be able to just normalize the conversation and know, and help prevent all these suicides that end up happening because we're keeping it such a secret because of the shame.
Absolutely. You've empowered. That's what you've done. You've empowered. Well, I'm glad that you came to our film festival, because we obviously loved it, and so
Thank you.
so
I'm
did
grateful
our
that you
audience.
accepted us. I'm so
Oh,
grateful.
are you kidding me? It's an amazing film.
Yes, thank you.
But where do we go next? What's next for you?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of interest in having a feature version of Dosh. My desire is I want to dive more into this character of Karishma, whether if the name remains the same or not. But I do want to dive into this because there's a whole backstory of her, of having been hard of hearing and feeling less than throughout her life. Yet, in spite those odds, she accomplishes some beautiful things. And so why is she so empathetic towards someone who, you know, later in the story could be abusive to her or something like that, right? And then what is her family background there? And then what is her love to dance or to music, especially when she's hard of hearing? So that's my ideal, is a feature version that incorporates a bit of this story. Because, as you said, I think in the short, I try to make it a resolution. I try to make it a beginning, middle, and end, to be its own complete story. But I think that there's so much more to explore in these specific characters. So I'm working on a feature version of that, and I would love all the support. And I'm an independent, you know, filmmaker, so, you know, it would still be kind of like lower budget compared to these studio films, but I really want that to be my launch point into this career, to be like a full-time director and writer throughout the rest of my life.
Listen, I wasn't done with these characters, so I'm glad that we're going to now see the full fruition of these characters unfold, because there's I could tell the depth of the backstories that you created with these characters, and I wanted to know more and just their journeys and such. So well done.
That's good.
Just want to say, you know, we really appreciate you being part of our New Filmmakers LA family. We can't wait for the feature and supporting you on your future projects. And thank you so much for Dosh and Roberta for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you're so amazing at what you do. I love this.
I can't do it without you. Thank you. Thank you very much.